We're live. We're back. We're here to talk some Spurs. Thank you for showing up. If you're already in here, I saw there were a couple of you guys waiting earlier. Maybe us going a minute over. It just everybody left. No, now I see some people in here already. So we appreciate you guys. I know there's been some people on Twitter that have interacted as well with all the updates for the upcoming shows. So we appreciate all that. But Ethan, let's just jump right into it. There are two Spurs. Although we lost some Spurs that played in the Olympics this year, we gained a lot of them, and two of them are gold medalists. Just what are your overall impressions of Keldon Johnson and Greg Popovich being gold medalists, Ethan?
I'm proud of Coach Pop. He proved everybody wrong, including, to an extent, you and I, a little bit worried that maybe his coaching prowess was kind of falling a little bit. But he proved us wrong. He went on a streak and he got himself a gold medal that he has been deserving of for a very, very long time. And proud of Keldon Johnson, too. I know he didn't get that many minutes, but just to be a part of that and be around those guys that are, championship caliber, all-star level players, it's got to be an outstanding experience for such a young player. And I'm excited to see what he learned and what he's going to bring to our team coming out of this experience as well.
No, absolutely. I mean, when you talk about Keldon Johnson and just being in this experience, being around NBA All Stars, being around Kevin Durant, arguably, arguably the best player on the planet. I think after this performance, you can say that maybe he's not. You can argue him and LeBron all you want. You can have your personal opinion, but I think after this, Kevin Durant is the best USA Olympic basketball player ever, awards wise. With what he's done, the amount of points he's scored. All the accomplishments that he just has more accomplishments. You can say that MJ is better than KD, and I'm not going to get mad at you. But when it comes to accomplishments in FIBA and Olympic basketball, Kevin Durant is that dude. So to be around somebody like that on an Olympic team, basically the greatest Olympian, in USA basketball, to witness what he did this year, was just incredible. And, kind of going back to Pop a little bit too, and I'm glad that you brought up, because we were giving him, there was some concern, and I didn't think that it was, that outrageous. I was just like, hey, let's look at how the Spurs past two seasons have went. And then we talked about even the small ball thing. We were a little concerned about it. But after that first, I forget, the game after their first loss, after the France game, I think
Iran, right? Is that who we played?
Yeah, that and Iran was a little bit. I thought that there was another game that I forgot about, the Iran game.
We blew them out.
Yeah, that I'm not going to give anybody credit for that. But the game after that, I forget. I think it might have been Australia. Was that who we played after? No, that was the Czech Republic. We played the Czech Republic after we played Iran, and we blew them out too. And that's when I was like, okay, I kind of, all my concerns were gone then too. I think a lot of, maybe some people had a little bit like, oh, maybe you might not get the gold medal, but I don't think anybody was really that, like, after those two performances. And then I think maybe they played Australia after that. No, I think we had another team that we played to start, because it was quarterfinals, then semifinals. Then
did we play France?
We played. Oh, did we play France to start?
I think we lost to
we
France,
played them in pool play. Any of y'all in the comments, please help us out. I'm sorry that I'm taking up so much time over this. I forget who we played, but we played a solid team before we played Australia. And kind of with those 3 wins in a row, the point I'm trying to make is I think a lot of people out there were like, okay, I think Team USA is good now, And I think we also mentioned that, like, Coach K, had just had that program for so long. Like, Pop had to get it instilled, all that stuff. And even with one of the things that we also wanted to get into, Mocha 4354 Spain. That's a really important team. You see, I know I forgot him for some reason, but yes, thank you, Mocha. But yeah, and let's talk about KD and Draymond too. I mean, both of them had individual statements on Keldon Johnson and Coach Popovich. KD was on Instagram Live and was like, Pop was in the back, of course, Pop wasn't paying attention, but he was like, they were talking crap. He didn't say crap, but y'all know what I mean. They were talking crap about him, and he was like saying he couldn't get us to play. He's like, and look what happened. So he was like, we're fine. Pop was never the issue, And to be fair, this makes me feel a lot better, to be honest, because I was still concerned about it. Even though right now I'm like congratulating Pop, like you talked about, there were still some concerns. Obviously I have love for him just because of all that he's done for San Antonio, but there were some questions. So to hear KD stand up for him like that, the obvious leader of that team. If anybody should have an opinion on the head coach, it's probably his when it comes to this roster this year. And then Draymond, it was so funny because Mike Finger, I'm sure a lot of you guys may follow him on Twitter. He's a San Antonio Express news reporter, and he basically hinted at the fact that Draymond was drunk when he said this. But he said feeling good after but which was funny. But he had his arm around Keldon, and he was like, "We brought a 21-year-old here, and they thought he shouldn't have been here, thought he shouldn't have been a part of the roster." And, it kind of brought me full circle, Ethan, when I'm seeing the picture of the Olympic team there. I'm like, wait, the Olympic team's not that big. Like, there's only 12 guys here, and I see Keldon Johnson, and it kind of hit me at the end, like how big of an accomplishment and how big of a thing it was for him to be there. And then on top of that Draymond Green is yelling, on their way exiting the building with his arm around him. Yes, I get he's a little bit inebriated, but still, I'm sure this is how he truly feels. You know what I'm saying? And he's talking about how he brought more energy than anybody else every day, and we needed that so much to win this medal. You know what I mean? Like, these are just all good things. A lot of concerns that I feel like we've had about the Spurs. Obviously, they probably weren't with Keldon Johnson necessarily, but any questions that you kind of had about Pop or maybe Keldon, you feel really good about it after this Olympics win. And obviously, this is a team full of NBA All-Stars and all that stuff, but still an awesome accomplishment for those two guys. And, look, we're not fixed. It's not like there's not going to be, some downs this year. We may not make the playoffs still, but this was still just, I think this was a positive thing for the Spurs, seeing this happen with these two guys.
I think it proves also for the Olympic team that all their struggles and, before the Olympics started where they were losing all these games, I think it can be boiled down to just chemistry. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people were very quick, including me. I'm going to throw myself in there.
Both of us. Yeah.
We were critical of Pop. We were critical of the All-Stars, everybody on the team saying they weren't, willing to do X, Y, and Z or whatever. But I think it was just chemistry because they were thrown together so quickly, and then they didn't have their full team ready to go.
And a lot of people came in as the playoffs ended.
And Kevin Love had to leave, and that was that whole fiasco with him, and then all that jazz. And to be quite honest, I don't know if you felt this way, Jude, but looking at now, I didn't watch every single game, so I could be completely wrong here. And if you think I'm wrong, go ahead and comment it and tell me I'm an idiot. But I thought Keldon Johnson actually probably played better than Jeremy Grant, in my opinion. Just like watching the games, because Jeremy Grant really, I thought he was supposed to have more of an impact, and he didn't really play that much. And when Keldon got on the floor, I mean, you knew he was on the court. You know what I mean? Like, he was making plays happen. He was
he's just that type of
energizer.
Player.
Yeah, Energizer Bunny.
Absolutely. Yeah. To be honest, I didn't watch enough. I didn't watch enough USA basketball. Well, I did watch a lot of the games, but I didn't see Jeremy Grant on the floor a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I thought he was supposed to play more.
So I didn't really see. But to be fair, I didn't really watch the games where Keldon played either. I didn't see a minute of him playing. I mainly just kind of watched. I saw after we lost the first pool play game, I was like, okay, now I need to watch. And basically after that point, I don't think Jeremy or Keldon played. So
Keldon
for the most part,
mostly exhibition game minutes.
Yeah,
I don't think he played
came
that.
in, even when it was mattered, it was garbage time. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, anyways, I just don't feel like I watched enough of either of them to have an opinion on that. But I don't know. Maybe there could be something there, Ethan.
Yeah, it was mostly just something that I noticed that I thought was complimentary of Keldon more so than negative about. Not Thaddeus.
Jeremy Grant.
Thaddeus Young. Yeah.
No, I can understand too how he may be he could be noticed a lot more on the floor just when it comes to the role that those two guys were playing. Jeremy Grant was probably going to be maybe he'll go up and get a rebound every once in a while, but he's still not going to be the 5, so he would have probably been a stretch 4. Where Keldon is going to be super physical in the paint. So it's those roles, just Keldon's role is more naturally noticeable too. You know what I mean?
Now, not to stay crapping on my man Jeremy Grant, but
I was just thinking about it.
You're right though, because I felt to me what I saw from Jeremy Grant, he was almost looking for his ISO ball game, and Keldon was literally doing exactly what you said, which was rim running, trying to dunk the ball, and just playing super physical interior defense and stuff like that. So completely different roles there.
He's funny. He's funny. It's all the pictures of him there have just been. it seems like he's just having a blast.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. Like I was thinking to myself, because Keldon's our age pretty much. So
Yeah.
like if I were Keldon Johnson and I all of a sudden was playing on the Olympic team, I would probably be a little bit like in my shell, kind of shy, don't want to make any mistakes, don't want to talk to KD. I'm just this young buck, and he's like making friends. Did you see that video of him? They were getting ready to break the huddle, and they're like, "Where's Keldon?" And he like screamed and ran into
Oh
the
yeah.
huddle, like he's just being himself. I love seeing that from him. He's such a fun dude.
And it's so funny too, Ethan, because like when that specific sequence, it's like you can see that like Draymond, like they weren't like really, they were like, all right, guys, let's go. And then
Yeah,
Keldon comes in and it's just being Keldon, and it just makes them all laugh. And it's so
yeah.
funny because like honestly, when KD's on the floor, he doesn't really laugh or
No.
smile that much. So
Mm-mm.
when Keldon is getting a smile and a laugh out of KD,
Yeah,
like
it's a big
and
deal.
yeah, and when you talk about Draymond, like think of now, to be fair, honestly, if you look at their play style, you can kind of see why Draymond would like Keldon a lot,
Yeah.
just because that kind of matches their personalities a little bit. Obviously, I don't think that Keldon is, well, Keldon is definitely fiery like Draymond. I don't see Keldon ever being like, yelling at some other player and
Yeah.
getting a technical for it. You know
No,
what
I
I
don't
mean?
think so
Like,
either.
I don't think that like Keldon's gonna be, talking mad, mess to Patrick Beverly and get ejected ever. But
No,
like
no.
something Draymond would do. But you can see how they would like each other. But still, a championship player like him, somebody who is a hard nosed dude who probably doesn't take it easy on young guys. For
Mhm.
him to say something like he said too, just the context of all of these comments, scenarios, this whole situation is really important. And I think that it really just emphasizes, you know, once again, the positive benefits of Keldon Johnson being there and Greg Popovich being there as well.
I agree.
Okay. One question though,
Yes,
before
sir.
we end, because I just thought of it. Now that Pop has won an Olympic medal, do you think that he would be more willing to retire if he thought about it? Or do you think he's still like, I think he's going to play this season for sure.
Hmm.
Obviously not play, but coach. Um, but how much do you think is left in the gas tank now that he's accomplished this? Because I feel like, he even said that, and he said he was basically tired. Like it was like a lot of anxiety was relieved
Hmm.
by this win. And he also hinted that he was going to go back to his hotel room and probably have himself a couple beverages.
Well
So,
deserved. Yes.
but well deserved, exactly. And that's the point. Is like, it seemed like he was saying he's a little bit tired. So, and you can't be
Yeah.
mad at him. He's like 72 years old or something. So,
Yeah. I don't know. You know that my opinion of Pop's retirement has always been the same. I thought he was going to retire after this Olympics, but then everything got
he is
completely
72.
derailed.
I got
Yeah,
that right on the money.
everything
That
got
was a shot in the
derailed with the
dark.
with the postponement of the Olympics because of COVID and all that jazz. And then, you know, I don't know if Pop has the energy, like you said, to see this team that we have in San Antonio through to another championship. I think that's too far into the future for him to want to stick it out the whole way through. But I like what we talked about last time on one of our live streams, which was I think he's just going to keep coaching until the end of his contract, and then he'll call it quits. I don't know if he's going to retire next year. I think he has what was it, 3 more years left on his contract, and then he's done, something
2.
like that. 2 more years.
So he has one
Yeah,
more after this year.
I think then he'll retire. I don't think he's going to want to resign. He's at that age. He has nothing left to prove. I don't think he's necessarily like, you know, frustrated and wants to quit. I just think it's that point in his
It's
life and
that
in his
time.
career, yeah, that it's just time to move on.
It'd be different if he had won 5 championships and a gold
Yeah,
medal, but he
yeah,
has. So,
and he's still maintained a level of excellence despite not having the same talent around him. He hasn't had really. I mean, you can argue that DeMar was an all-star these past couple of years, but really he hasn't had an all-star since I guess LaMarcus Aldridge back when he was by himself.
when he was carrying us in 2017.
Yeah, and even that was like a borderline all-star.
34-year-old LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, it was mostly an all-star pick because he was literally the only scoring option we had on our team.
We were throwing it to him in the post every play.
Every possession, yes. So, yeah, I just think after his contract's up, he'll call it quits, and Spurs fandom will be, happy to let him go. And, I don't like it when people say I want him to quit. I don't want him to quit. I do not want him to stop coaching the Spurs.
I used to say that, but I don't say that anymore either.
Yeah, we're not going to win with or without him, so I'd rather have the greatest coach of all time, at least until his contract's up, and then he decides to leave on his own.
Right now, he just knows the roster better.
Yeah.
Like, there's no point of, just let him finish. Whenever he wants to stop coaching, just let him stop.
Yeah.
Like, he'll retire when he retires. But
there are literally zero better options.
Yes.
Like, zero.
That's And sometimes, when you're in emotion, you're like, oh, I want Nick Nurse. I want a young coach, but like Nick Nurse isn't leaving the Raptors. He just signed like a 5-year deal or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean?
And even they played horribly with Kyle Lowry and with what's his name? Siakam. So, every coach has an off year or two. We're just not used to having an off year with the greatest coach of all time. So that's really what it boils down to.
This is probably the first time. Well, I don't know if DeMar was an all-star last year. I don't think that he was.
Mm-mm. He's been snubbed.
But like the year before, the bubble year, was he all-star?
Or did
they may have not even announced it. I don't even know.
I'm pretty sure they had the All-Star game because that was when that was the Kobe year when everyone had 2 and 24 on or whatever. Let me look that up real quick. I'm almost positive he's an star with the San Antonio Spurs.
Okay. Well, I was going to say that regardless of that, like, this will be the first time that Pop hasn't really had an all-star caliber player coming back ever. Like, I know that sounds crazy. Well, maybe no, his entire coaching career, he had David Robinson at the beginning too. Even though they were asked, they still had him, right?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Did they have, at the beginning of Pop's coaching career, was David Robinson on the roster?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. So we can have, what was I going to say? So he's had David Robinson, then he had Tim Duncan, then he had Kawhi. And even though, like, Kawhi left, you still had LaMarcus and DeMar. You know what I mean?
And between that, you had Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili.
Yes, exactly. So, like, these are the guys. And I know that the DeMarcus and LaMarcus, or DeMar and LaMarcus years didn't work out. But at the same time, like, still, you've had all-star players, because all those guys are all-stars at one point in their career on your team until now. I think this is the first year that they haven't had like a all-star, a former all-star on the team ever.
Yeah.
Think about that.
It's exciting. It's exciting to me.
I didn't think about that. But I see Himi Lau in the chat. What's the rotation?
Yeah, he wants us to get on with it.
He wants us to get on with it. Yes, I know. We've been talking. We got off tangent talking about the Olympics. But yeah, let's get into this episode, Ethan. So let's break down the roster. And I can pull that up right now just to get everything.
How do you want to break it? How do you want to break it down first? Do you want to go through all of our points, all of our shooting guards, and then we'll break down who we think should play, or how do you want to do that?
I was just gonna lay out the roster. So literally, we did this last time a little bit too, but just now that there's a little bit more clarity, because it was like we were doing it mid free agency, so it was like only 2 of the signings that happened. So I just wanted to break down the entire roster for everybody, so that we can know, so that everybody can know, all right, here's who we got at each position. So at point guard right now, just straight true point guards, we've got DeJounte Murray and Trey Jones.
Yes.
So, there's been a lot of other conversation, and I want to pick your brain on it, Ethan, before we move on to the next position group here. And that's with DeJounte Murray. I was watching Spurs Film Room, and he was like, I actually like the idea of moving DeJounte to the 2 and putting Derek at the 1. And I don't know what you think of that, but that's kind of what I'm asking. But also, Clan the Spurs fan, another big channel, he was like, I don't think that DeJounte could ever play the 2. So I was like, okay, these are two pretty, some of the bigger Spurs channels got some very different, contrasting viewpoints. So I was just kind of curious on your take of DeJounte Murray as a 2 at some point.
Here's my opinion. Putting Derek White at the point guard, I've actually been a fan of for a very long time. I think he has a very good playmaking ability, equally to DeJounte. They're both good playmakers, but Derek White, I think, a little bit more so. In fact, the only reason I'm anxious and wary of putting DeJounte Murray at the shooting guard position is I don't know if I've seen enough from him as far as off-ball movement, coming off screens and being able to catch and shoot. And that's really been a staple of the Spurs shooting guards for our entire history, is being able to move without the ball, catch the ball coming off of a screen, and shoot the basketball. And I think Derek does that, better at this point than DeJounte Murray. Now, he could prove me wrong coming into this season and all of a sudden be just like a sniper. And then, yeah, I'm down with putting him at the shooting guard. But at this point, no. But I will say putting him at the shooting guard has its advantages as well, because he's not so much taller, 1 inch taller, but longer than Derek White. And I think he can guard shooting guards at a higher clip than Derek might be able to. So letting Derek White maybe guard the point and letting DeJounte guard the shooting guard is something that I've always been a fan of. But at this point, as far as what DeJounte is capable of doing offensively, I think he fits best at point. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I get exactly what you're saying. Okay, I'll give you my thoughts because this was a really interesting conversation for me too. And so, well, here let's see what F Nico says here, or Finico. I'm sorry if I butchered the pronunciation. I think they're interchangeable, but I agree Derek is better suited for the 2, mainly because of his 3-point shooting. Yeah, I see that. I understand that. So I'm gonna give you guys all kind of just playing devil's advocate here, but not even necessarily playing devil's advocate. This is just something that maybe you guys haven't thought of. So the 3-point shooting argument, I completely get. Derek is a better 3-point shooter than DeJounte Murray right now, and he's probably going to be next year, even if DeJounte Murray gets up to like 35%, just because Derek he's a more natural shooter than DeJounte ever was, right? But here's the thing about DeJounte. Let me ask you this, Ethan. Who do you think, whenever it comes to playing off the dribble, just off the dribble, getting a bucket, beating your defender one-on-one, I know that this is a tough question, but who do you think is more skilled, DeJounte or Derek?
I would have to go with DeJounte Murray just because of recency bias, maybe. Because we haven't seen Derek really go into his bag all that often. Usually when he's scoring, like I said, he's coming off of a screen and either just diving or
just
shooting.
Driving to the rim.
Yes. Now, DeJounte has shown a lot more ability to be an ISO scorer like a DeMar, going into his bag with his handle, turnaround jump shot, pull up from the elbow. We've seen that more often. I don't know if that's because Derek is inept at doing that or if it's because he just hasn't been given the opportunity to do so. But to answer your question, at this point, DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, okay. I agree with you. So here's what I'll say just about Derek. I'm not trying to say that DeJounte is a better offensive player than Derek. That's not what I'm trying to say here. Like I said, Derek is a better 3-point shooter, and Derek has, there were some plays this year. Yes, he was injury prone, and we saw a lot more of DeJounte's ISO game this year just by nature of PT, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I did see a little bit from Derek. He has a little bit of a fadeaway, little mid-range floater that he can do to get space off of his defenders in the mid-range. But DeJounte is definitely the better mid-range shooter right now. And his mid-range shot is somewhat reminiscent of Parker's. So Tony played point guard, so obviously, that would fit a little bit more in that kind of Spurs mold. But what I will say about DeJounte just being able to get a bucket and playing him at the 2, not only is he longer defensively, Ethan, and not only do I also think that he's going to be because the past couple of years, he's just gotten a little bit better every year at shooting, you know what I mean? And I think we would say this year, this is kind of, honestly, like for me, and this is off topic a little bit, Ethan, but let me ask you, is DeJounte, where his shooting is at right now, did you ever think that he'd get to where he's at? Were you convinced that he would get to the point that he's at right now?
No, only because I did not think he would play as quickly as he did.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know I wasn't sure. I thought maybe, but to be honest, where he's at right now, I think that he is I think that now he can get even better. And I was just going to be happy one day if DeJounte could be wide open and just hit an open three. That's all I wanted. I was like,
Yeah.
let's just not, let's not be crazy here. But it seems like he can get even better. And I'm seeing Will Carter, you're in here too, and saying that he can't shoot the three, and that's why he can't play the two guard. So here's my counter argument that I've been trying to get to. I got a little bit off topic. But DeJounte Murray, because of his ISO ball ability, and just I feel like, I don't know, maybe this is just crazy. Maybe I'm just thinking of like Kobe Bryant and other shooting guards, but like think about Bradley Beal, all these other shooting guards. I just feel like DeJounte, even though yes, 3-point shooting is a question, I feel like his skill set is actually more fitted to be a shooting guard instead of running an offense. I think that he is better as whenever he's just like, okay, let me just, dribble somebody down and go get a mid-range bucket because I can. Like, that's something that Derek just can't do as far as we know right now. I think that Derek can drive past guys, drive through guys, and go get a layup for sure on a pick and roll. Like, I think that Derek is a very talented offensive player, but I think that Derek is naturally an unselfish player, and he's naturally I don't know. I'm trying to put this into words. It's hard to explain.
He's a more natural playmaker, while
Yes.
DeJounte's more of a natural bucket.
Yes. That's what I'm trying to say. And look, there are times where Derek just takes over too, and he can just be a natural scorer. Because I don't want to not say that, because I've seen that. I've seen him go for 36 and be the main guy. You know what I mean, in a playoff game. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, that's the thing. I just think that DeJounte is better at getting a bucket than playmaking, where right now Derek can do either. He can play make or score and be just as good at both. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. And like I said, I do still agree with the 3-point shooting argument, but there is a counter argument there. And when Rob brought up bringing DeJounte to the 2, it was something I hadn't thought of. And I think that especially if he can be like a 35% 3-point shooter, which that may be a lot to ask, he can play this position well. And it might be something that could be intriguing. And maybe flip-flopping those two could solve a lot of issues, but maybe it fails horribly too.
I have 2 points I'm going to make here, both kind of addressing what we've had in the comment section. The first one from Finico about them being interchangeable. And he thinks that Derek is better suited for the 2 because of his 3-point shot. Now, because they're so interchangeable, this might lead to, who's running the point, who's running the 2. Maybe we don't even know. Maybe it's neither. Maybe they're both doing it. It's almost as if, whose turn is it tonight? Who's got the hot hand? We're just going to feed each other and be like combo guards, both of us. Neither of us is necessarily a natural point, and neither of us is a natural 2. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I could definitely see that becoming our offense next year, because they both so closely, their games are so close together. Derek's just a better shooter, and DeJounte is a better mid-range, get into his bag scorer. And my second point, reacting to, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, is it Egil Helgeson? Forgive me if that's wrong. He asked, what about DeJounte starting with Vassell at the 2 and let Derek lead the second unit with Lonnie and Doug? Now,
I hate that.
That was my argument all of last season and all of last year's offseason. I think that Derek White, because of, like we said, his natural playmaking ability and the fact that he's not necessarily a shooting guard because he's only 6'4", this would make him just a perfect 6-man off the bench, because he can – this is his unit. Like you said, this is his time to shine.
And it's a Manu role. It's not that Derek is not a starter.
Yes.
That's not what this idea is. And we don't. And the thing is, so Rob actually brought up another great point in the video that I was watching, not to just take all of it from him, but also I think that Derek would be much more he would be much more willing to be a 6th man than DeJounte. And let's remember, Derek, you can say oh, Derek should be starting, blah, blah, blah. Derek's getting paid more than DeJounte at the end of the day, so who really cares if he's coming off the bench? That would be my if I'm Derek White, I'm like, well, they're paying me more, so that's what. Who cares? You know what I mean?
I agree with you. His name's Icelandic, that's why it's hard. Sorry about that. And I do also like the point of making Vassell a shooting guard, starting shooting guard, because then he immediately becomes our Danny Green type player. We
I
don't
don't mind
necessarily,
starting Vassell. He can
yeah,
fit in. He's a plug and play. I get what you're saying there, Eagle. And maybe I don't like, maybe I still would prefer Derek as the starter. But if they end up putting Vassell at the 2, I'm not going to be mad at it because I see what they're doing.
Alexander Olmo, DeMar play in Toronto with shooting guard. 3-point shooting was not great, but mid range was. Yeah, you're right. And the only argument I have against that, Alexander, is that was a completely different time, really, in Toronto. Back when, DeMar ended up shooting a lot more threes his last year in Toronto, a lot more than he ever shot in San Antonio. But the 3-point shot wasn't necessarily as prevalent as it is today. Isn't that weird that literally 3 years pass and the NBA is a completely different place?
No, the other day, I say the other day, but this was like a long time ago. But at some point, I remember I was having a conversation with my friend, and we were just talking about Steph, and he was like, "Dude, we don't think about it this much, but remember like 6 years ago when Steph was the unanimous MVP? People were calling him the best player in the world
Mhm.
unanimously, and he literally changed the game of basketball with his
Yeah.
play style." And I was like, "Yeah, I totally forgot about that." Like I knew that it happened
Hmm.
subconsciously the whole time, but I just never really thought about it that deep. And it was just like, wow, we literally kind of grew up like when we were teenagers, at least we grew, and that's when we got into basketball. We witnessed, a whole change there. And Big Boss, why the hell did we sign Bryn Forbes for 2 years? Hey, I'm glad you mentioned that because we're gonna get in to the shooting guards next here. And Finico, I see what you're saying too. I agree. There shouldn't be a definitive one or two. DJ and Derek have played together long enough, and there's no ego between the two of them.
Hmm.
And I think that we have gotten to that point too. I think that there was some tension at first when those two guys were coming in, just because it was like they're the same position. They're kind of battling. DeJounte got hurt. Derek came in and basically became the new DeJounte. Like, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? But I think they figured that out now. You can tell just by their demeanor with each other on the court. And Will Carter makes a good point earlier. Um, they will sag off Murray and give him wide open threes, which would honestly help his 3-point shooting. And then if he doesn't make it, then it's just on him. And
Yeah.
Alexander Omo also, like DeMar, played in Toronto shooting guard. That's what I was kind of going for. Like it's a scheme thing. It's less of a we don't want our shooting guard to be able to shoot, and it's more of a scheme thing. So
Yeah.
and y'all, facing Forja right now, how you feeling about Lonnie coming into the season? Well, let's talk about the shooting guards we have on the roster. We already talked about Derek White, but I'm just going to assume he's the starter. But now we have 3 other guys now. We have Lonnie Walker, we have Bryn Forbes, and then we have Josh Primo, who really, Primo's been handling the ball a lot. He might end up
Yeah.
coming up as a point guard, but I'm going to put him here because he can play the 2-2, and he he's 6'6". That's mainly why I'm putting him at the 2 guard. And he even mentioned in his interview today that I DM'd you, he was like, in high school, I was much more of an on-ball player. But then when I got to Alabama, there were these 2 other stars there, and I was just trying to contribute so we could win games. So I became an off-ball player. Those are things that you love to hear.
Hmm.
Have you watched any of? I know I'm getting into Josh Primo and skipping over Lonnie and Bryn, but have you watched any Josh? Have you seen some of the shots that he's hit in Salt Lake?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He looks a lot better than I thought he was going to look. I'm not going to lie. I
He
thought he would
looks
be.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like fade away, like
Yeah. He's
off
got
one
a nice
foot.
bag. I don't want to overreact because it is, like Salt Lake City Summer League. It's like,
Yes,
not
yes. It's
that
not
big a
even
deal.
the legit summer league yet, right?
Exactly. But the one takeaway that I think is most important from what we've seen from Josh Primo, he has got off the charts confidence for a guy that's 18 years old and has received as much criticism as he has, being drafted 12th overall, all of that hype around him being the big bust of the draft.
He
The
doesn't even
Spurs, what
seem
are they doing?
phased.
No, he came out shooting, dude. He was not even scared. Like he was confident. He was taking the ball to the hole. He was making some great crisp passes. I liked what I saw from him.
Yeah, I don't think that, I think that he just doesn't care. We talked about how much he wanted to be a Spur. I think that he just found out that when he found out that the team that it seems like he believed the most in also believed in him more than he could have even, imagined. I
Mhm.
think that just motivated the heck out of him. And he's like, who cares what these other people are saying? I get it. They don't know who I am. He's probably like, I
Yeah.
probably feel the same way, but they'll find out. So, but anyways, more Josh Primo and Joe Wieskamp and Devin Vassell and Trey Jones coming to you soon. Summer League champs, hopefully. I'm really gonna dig into that Vegas Summer League this year. This is gonna be really fun with this group. But let's talk about Lonnie Walker. Will he be our backup shooting guard? We also signed Bryn Forbes.
Yes. Well, my man Puro Money 830 thinks that Walker should start, and he says that he has the potential to become an all-star. That's what I thought. I thought he should have started last year with Derek coming off the bench as the sixth man. Like I said, from what he showed us last year, did he meet your expectations, Jude?
No, but I don't think that it's necessarily his fault.
I agree.
If you would have told me what happened this year with no tape, I'd be angry.
Yeah.
But if you show me the tape, it's like I can't give up on him yet. I can't give up on him yet. I just think that he needs the ball in his hands. You can't force him. They needed him to be an off-ball shooter. Lonnie Walker, go watch his Miami tape, is not an off-ball shooter. You know what I mean? And he did what he needed to for the team, but I think this year he's really going to get the opportunity to be himself.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest take about Lonnie. This is his season. There's no excuses anymore, other than I guess maybe Bryn, if you want to. We'll get to that in a second.
If Bryn plays over him, then it's not Lonnie's fault.
Yes. If things work out the way we both think that they should, which is he is the sixth man, he is running the unit, the second unit, and he has the ball in his hands. He won't have to relegate, or excuse me, what am I saying? I'm trying to use big words. He won't have to give the ball to Patty Mills and Rudy Gay and feel like he has to defer to the veterans. This is his second unit. He has the chance to prove that he belongs in this team and that he does have the potential to become that next all-star caliber player. I'm expecting a lot out of Lonnie this season because he showed flashes of what he could be. He's shown so many flashes, Jude. I feel like that's why Spurs fandom is a little bit frustrated with Lonnie, because he'll have moments where it's like, this is our future. This is our guy. He'll
have a horrible game.
Yes.
Okay. And during that game, there will be like multiple times where you're like, oh my God, what did he almost just like murdered Mason Plumlee or something. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and Finico's bringing up a great point here too. For Lonnie, it's all about confidence and his aggressiveness. Whether he starts or comes off the bench, he needs to be locked in at all times. And I think that because of the role they wanted him to be in, his aggressiveness was diminished. Yeah, and then because he wasn't really contributing as much, his confidence went down. That's just what I saw from what it looked like from body language on TV. Maybe I'm analyzing too much and I don't know what I'm talking about, but I see what Finico's saying right there, and I agree with him. And, you know, the more times that y'all are all talking about this, and I want to get to Dylan's comment as well, because, yeah, we have a lot of players on the roster. But just going back to Lonnie here for a second, the more that I'm looking at this roster, I think that you guys' idea might be more realistic than even you guys may think that it is going into this season. Because when I'm looking at this, I'm like, we need a backup point guard. Unless we're going to run Bryn Forbes there, or move Trey Jones up, which I would love for them to move Trey Jones up. But with the way that they're playing him and Vassell in the Summer League still, I don't think those guys are going to come in and like get a lot of minutes, especially with the signings, you know what I mean? And considering that Trey is kind of in that group with Vassell, and you saw how many wings we signed, like with McDermott and all that. And although it sucks that, you know, maybe Vassell won't get playing time and Trey Jones won't get playing time, it would make sense if Derek White is going to be your backup point guard, because then you can start Lonnie Walker and then Bryn Forbes as your backup shooting guard.
Yeah.
And then you got Josh Primo as your third stringer, who's in Austin, obviously, probably with Trey Jones. So.
And I don't mind that at all, because
I don't mind that either.
Because if we play Bryn and Lonnie next to each other, you know, someone's about to get cooked on defense. Or are you laughing at Deshaun?
No way, bro.
Yeah, no, Deshaun.
No way.
You got that Lakers mindset, Deshaun. That's not going to happen. Y'all should start Mac McClung maybe over there. What was I saying? Oh yeah, putting Lonnie and Bryn is a recipe for disaster defensively next to each other. So like
Mm-hmm.
you said, if you're wanting to put Bryn at the backup point guard next to Lonnie, that's really rough. My only thing, I don't think they're going to put Derek on the bench. It's better than Derek White.
He might
Deshaun.
have a bag. No. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. He's not kidding. Y'all don't understand. No, Deshaun's invaded the SSPN chat. This is funny. Okay.
Oh,
I could see Deshaun's saying that Josh Primo's bag is deeper than Derek White's. And right now, I can admit that. But and I know that sounds crazy, but like that's not saying he's a, more polished NBA offensive player yet, but yeah. Anyways, going back to Lonnie though. Just yeah, I wouldn't mind him playing at the starting shooting guard position. Just
yeah.
because if I think that would actually, I know that I talked about moving DeJounte to the two, but Lonnie is just like a more like fit for the two position DeJounte, if that makes sense. Like all
Yeah.
the benefits that I talked about with DeJounte, it's like Lonnie has that.
And he can
Except
shoot slightly better.
except he can shoot slightly better, and you could maybe even argue, well, he's definitely more physical and more of an impending force just by weight, and that's nothing against DeJounte, but
My man Gregory making a good point as well. Lonnie might be gone. Forbes signed cheap. They got Derek on contract, and Vassell is ready next year to start at the shooting guard. That could be in the plans. We don't really know. I think it really will come down to what Lonnie is capable of doing this season. I don't think the Lonnie Walker is going to be traded at all. Not even this year. Like if he's traded, it'll be literally after the season is over. Like we're going to see what he is capable of, and either his value will go up or it will stay the same. I don't know if he's going to go down necessarily because, like everyone's saying in the chat, he has so much potential because of his raw athleticism, his ability to score off the dribble. And I know we criticized his off-ball play a little bit because of last year, but he did improve as a spot-up shooter, even if it was just a little bit. He did improve as a spot-up shooter.
no, absolutely.
Yeah, and Forbes did sign pretty cheap. Yeah, Forbes replaces Patty as team gunner. That's what I'm really most worried about because if that statement that my man Dylan just made is true, then we are really underestimating how much playing time Bryn Forbes is going to be receiving.
Well, the thing is, if he's just playing the two off the bench and he's running off screens, and that's what Dylan is talking about, and that's what ends up happening. And they do this thing where Derek is going to be the backup point guard. If Derek
Okay.
is the backup point guard and Bryn's running off screens, then I'm okay with Bryn being the backup shooting guard.
Yeah.
And that's actually kind of what I have. I don't know if we have the capability to share screen. No, we don't. Look, we already pay, but you got to pay more to do that. We don't have that much money. But I have the roster up, and that's how I have it set up. I have DeJounte, Derek, Trey, Lonnie, Bryn, Primo. That sounds like it makes way more sense what the roster looks like. I mean, we can still put Derek at the two if you want, but I don't know. I know I'm not convinced that that's going to happen either, but
Yeah.
that seems like a possibility. We'll get into lineups later. I know we're already 42 minutes into this thing. Okay. So where do we want to classify Devin? Do we want to classify him as a 3 but he can play the 2-2? Just acknowledge that.
Yeah, I think that's what I have on my screen here.
I agree with that too. So we'll have Keldon, we hope, at the 3.
God.
With all the bigs that they signed, I don't think Keldon's playing the 4. I mean,
I
maybe
hope
in some,
not.
like if we're playing the Rockets or something, sure. But
Yeah.
but if it's if it's like, the
When they
Bulls or
show the
something.
starting lineups and
Yeah.
in the what am I looking for on TV? He better be the third picture there, not the fourth picture. That's really my biggest worry.
Where do you want to classify McDermott?
Right now, I have McDermott as a 3, and then he's
/4.
/4.
That's okay. I'm gonna put him as a 3-2 just because he's.
It
We
really
signed
depends.
a lot of bigs. I think he will play the 3 this year.
It really depends, like you said. What are they going to do with Devin? Because Devin's probably ready to get NBA playing time, but at this point in his career, Doug is probably a more consistent shooter as far as what they want that role to be, at that backup 3 spot. And then this is also the Spurs, so they might limit Devin even more than they did last year.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
so And that's what I feel like when you look at him on the Summer League roster. Like the guys that they're bringing to Summer League, I feel like are guys that are not going to play, unfortunately, even though they're guys we'd like to play.
Mm-hmm.
So at the 3, we have Keldon, Doug, Devin, and then Wieskamp.
Yes.
So we all assume, I think that it's probably, you can write this down, bet 1,000, bet your entire life savings on it, and you should be good. Wieskamp will be on a 2-way contract just because he's going to play in Austin anyway. This doesn't mean he won't be a part of our future. I mean, look at, think about Eubanks, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't even draft Eubanks. So with Wieskamp, he's, like I said, he's going to be in Austin this year anyway. We need another roster spot. Throw him on a 2-way. That's one roster, only one more to go after that. But let's talk about these kind of 3 guys. So do you think it'll most likely be Keldon and then Doug McDermott, most likely?
Most likely, yes. As much as I love Devin Vassell, and I think he's got a lot of upside, and he's definitely a part of our future here in San Antonio, you don't sign Doug McDermott on a 3-year, $42 million contract if you're going to just put him behind Devin Vassell. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They signed him to play him. So he's going to get more minutes than Devin if Devin gets anything at all. So, and yeah, I think Keldon's pretty much locked in. I know some people think that Keldon should come off the bench. That honestly might happen a few times. I could definitely see them putting Doug as the starting small forward just because of his shooting ability. I wouldn't want that to happen. I
could see, you know what I think's more realistic? I think it's more realistic of them starting Doug at the 4 in some situations. I don't think I don't know. With Keldon being the starter last year, or maybe it's more realistic that Keldon will start at the 4.
Gosh,
I hope not. I don't think so. Like I said, with all the bigs that they signed, there's no way. But if that maybe, I don't know, we can't rule it out. They're crazy. But they're also gold medalists. But yeah. Keldon, most likely, I feel like he's got to start, especially with this Olympics thing.
I hope so. I want him to so bad.
but especially with Zach Collins being probably injured for the first part of the year, I think now that I'm looking at this roster, because I got everybody written down when you were talking, I think Doug will definitely start the year at the 4. And I totally forgot about Luka. We have another player on our roster.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 4 guys at the big positions right now. We have 4 guys at 4 positions.
Yep.
So, yeah, most likely, unfortunately, Devin Vassell will be the third stringer. But the good news is, guys, and this is all sad because I know we want the young guys to play, but if there are any injuries, we have depth. And we had so many injuries over these past couple of years.
Yep.
Like, that is the one silver lining of the young guys not playing, is that if we have some injuries, which are inevitable to happen, we're going to have some good guys who can come in and play. So I didn't even think about that. But once again, Keldon Johnson, Doug McDermott, Devin Vassell, and Joe Wieskamp at the 3. At the 4, the 4 guys we have on the roster right now is Zach Collins, who will probably not play to start at least the first half of the year. Thaddeus Young, Al-Farouq Aminu, and Lucas Samanic.
Yes. We talked a little bit about Thaddeus Young the other day. Actually, you know what? We were confused on the text, I think. I was talking about Thaddeus Young, and you were talking about Aminu.
Oh, yes.
So we were both on 2 different wavelengths there. But I think Thaddeus Young's going to be our starting 4 because he's still a very capable player. I think he averaged, 12 and 5, something like that last year.
I'm pretty sure he started.
Yeah, he did.
Or maybe
with Chicago.
Yeah. Next to Vucevic.
He shared minutes with Patrick Williams, I think, depending on who they wanted to play.
That's facts,
I guess Lauri Markkanen too, who's gone, but we'll get to that later. But I think Thaddeus Young is one of those guys that will be with us for 1 season. He's going to provide a veteran presence. He's going to be a tough, hard-nosed defender, someone that's used to guarding guys that are bigger than he is. He's not going to go get us a lot of points. He's not a shiny pickup. But I think he starts only to relieve some of that pressure off of Luka Samanic, so he doesn't feel as if all the weight of the team is on his shoulders. But I also don't think he's going to take super minutes away from Luka, if that makes sense. I think that they will split basically the power forward minutes, and they'll kind of see what Luka's made of there.
Do you think they signed Zach Collins for next season? Not like this upcoming season, but the season after? Do you think they?
Maybe.
Because I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, yes, obviously Thad's gonna play, and I can see Luka playing as the backup over Alfred Camino for sure because I just think that they got to play Luka,
Hmm.
and I think that it seems like that's where the direction of the team is going. But Zach Collins is still there, so it's like, is Zach Collins gonna come in and because just straight up in their NBA careers, even though Zach Collins is a little bit older, still he's been way more effective than Luka has so far. So
Yeah.
it's like, I wonder when he comes in from that injury, is he going to come in and just take Luka's spot? You know what I mean? Or is he going to take the starting forward position and then Thad takes Luka's spot off the bench? Or maybe that's the time where maybe they're hoping by that point Luka has overtaken Thad and then Thad and Aminu, or Aminu may not even be on the roster at that point, but Thad's just a bench guy. There are a lot of different possibilities, but I'm not sure. What are your thoughts on Zach Collins coming back mid-season and that
Hmm.
dynamic with minutes?
Honestly, we talked about it last time a little bit, and you said something that the more I think about it, the more I think it's true. Zach Collins will probably get more minutes at the center's position than he will at the power forward position,
Okay.
which makes the center position really difficult to figure out. Because I think everyone knows Jakob's probably, definitively the starter, but now we have three other dudes at the center spot battling for backup minutes because we also picked up, I know your guy that you say is your version of my Drew Eubanks, which is Jacques Landale. Um,
Yes. But the good news about Jock Landale is he's even said in his ESPN Australia interview where he's literally talking about like, hey, I'm really trying to go to the NBA. I'm surprised I'm not there yet. It's from 5 months ago. Y'all should go check it out. And it's just look up ESPN Australia, Jock Landale. And the other thing that he talks about in there is not only does he feel like he would be better as a system player, but he feels like in the NBA he's more of a four. And this is a
mm,
guy who shot 39%, taking 3.5 3-pointers a game. Um, and when you watch him, and he says I can still play the five, obviously, but he sees himself more as a four in the NBA. And once again, I think that definitely the Spurs should still play him at the five because I just think that he's 6'11", and they need that size sometimes. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't mind running Eubanks at the four and him
mm-hmm.
at the five, just because
Yeah.
he can kind of replace that stretch four ability, but still play him at the five just because it's a better height matchup. You know what I mean? Um, but I think that Jock maybe the whole point is he may play the four and he's a proven shooter. And when you watch him in Team USA against Team USA on Australia, and when you just watch him on Australia, he's big. I think they weight him, and this might have just been, they may have just been I don't know, throwing us for a loop and putting out some fake numbers, but the NBL lists him at 255 pounds, and maybe he is. And when you're 6'11", you just look skinny. I mean, think about Jakob; he's like
Mm-hmm.
240. But at the same time, he did look a little bit smaller than you would expect when you think 255, 6'11". So like I could see him playing on the perimeter more because he's just kind of got a little bit more of a lengthy wing body, kind of like Evan Mobley. I mean, obviously not Evan Mobley, but kind of a similar body type to that.
I could see that too. What's good about Eubanks and Landale and Zach Collins is now we have guys that are capable of battling and bumping with these big centers and power forwards, um, but also move their feet, because that's our biggest criticism of Jakob, or at least my biggest criticism of Jakob, is interior defense. He's pretty good, one of the best interior defenders, as far as centers go in the league. But as soon as you get him out of the paint, it's barbecue chicken for whatever guard pulls him out, because he cannot defend on that perimeter. You mentioned Landale moving to the power forward. You could also move Eubanks to the power forward, but then it gets even more clogged up because then what happens to Luka's minutes? What
Yeah.
happens to, is Thaddeus Young even going to play anymore? Is our plan to package him and Aminu and you're going to just ship him out for a second rounder? Or are we going to trade Bryn? Because as someone commented earlier, Bryn could be a little bit more valuable than Lonnie to a championship contender, because Bryn is literally all he does is spot up and shoot. We saw that with Giannis, and he's got championship pedigree, so he knows what's coming. No matter how we figure out who's playing what position, Jude, one of these is going to be clogged. We
Yeah.
can move someone somewhere else, but then we clog that lane up as well. So
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of another thing here too. So, because I'm trying to think, everybody's talking about like Eubanks, right? That's what everybody's kind of talking about here in the chat, and that's what I've
yeah.
been thinking about too, and how he fits in. Because look, they're not gonna like Jock literally signed a contract. He didn't sign a two-way contract either.
Mm-hmm.
So they signed him to bring him in. Like whether he plays or not, that's another question. But they signed him to be on the NBA roster. And Eubanks' deal is meanwhile not guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
So, they could like at the end of the day, if the Spurs really wanted to, they could. But okay, so here's the other thing though. I was just at I had a friend, one of our friends who was commenting earlier, works at Spurs camp, and Eubanks was just showing up to do a workout for the kids. I don't know if they'd be bringing in a player they're about to cut to do this. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that's just a coincidence that they brought him in. But he did like a whole workout and everything. It's like, why would they? These Spurs, like, I don't think there's ever been a player who showed up to a Spurs camp and then has not been on the team the next year. You know what I mean? And I know that sounds crazy. I know that's very like, this is like not even basketball related. I'm talking about an event that the Spurs put on. But like, I think y'all kind of get what I'm saying there too. It doesn't really make sense also. And Finico, I see what you're saying. Unfortunately, I see Eubanks as the odd man out. When I look at this roster, it makes the most sense considering that he's the only contract left that's unguaranteed. But then maybe some of these guys are on the move. Then maybe that makes me question. Maybe they're thinking about trading Lonnie. I mean, I have no idea. Maybe they're going to trade one of DeJounte and Derek still. I mean, but yeah, the logical thing to do now when we've kind of gone through this whole roster, because at center we have Jakob Eubanks, Jock Landale, and Zach Collins. Because I kind of agree with you guys too. I think they'll play Zach Collins more at the center position, even though he can play the four. Um, Eubanks having the only non-guaranteed contract left on the roster does kind of make him seem like the odd man out.
Unfortunately, that's not a good sign, but I'm going to stick with my gut here, and something tells me that Eubanks is not the odd man out. Based on what I saw last year and based on what I heard from Ty Yeager's podcast interview that came out yesterday, Eubanks has been working a lot, on his jump shot primarily, and he's been working with Chip England a lot as well.
It's Al-Farouq Aminu. We're trading him.
Yeah, that might be the key. But
buy Aminu, we can keep Eubanks.
As of right now, I like Landale a lot, and I like Zach Collins a lot. Zach Collins will be hurt. Landale is the new kid on the block, and the Spurs are very old-fashioned in the sense that the new kid on the block, he's not going to play, which puts Eubanks as the backup center, at least until Zach Collins comes back.
Which I don't hate. This is why it's good to have Drew Eubanks, because it's somebody who can play. This is an example of depth.
And another thing I didn't even think about, now that all the veterans are pretty much gone, other than I guess Thaddeus Young and Aminu, and Doug McDermott is considered a veteran. This might be competition time. We got ourselves like maybe an old school like high school team where no one's spot is guaranteed. Week to week, we might have a new starting lineup. You know what I mean? We might have guys all of a sudden. Yeah, I don't mind that either. Because now Lonnie is looking around his shoulder. Am I being traded? Is Primo coming up? Maybe Wieskamp's going to move to shooting guard. I don't even know what's going on. Bryn's here. He's got to work now.
Another thing that Rob brought up too is that maybe they have the idea of Lonnie and Devin this year battling it out for the backup shooting guard position. Yeah. And the whole idea of Bryn is for just to him come in and basically be a Udonis Haslem type of guy. There's a chance at that too. I really think that there could be a chance where we signed Bryn Forbes to just be a mentor to all these other young guys that are going through the same thing he went through. But I think there's also a chance that he's the starting shooting guard. So
we talked about that. That honestly, I would not be surprised if game one our starting lineup is DJ, Bryn, Doug McDermott, Keldon Johnson, Jakob Poeltl.
I forgot about Chandler Hutchinson. God, we have another person on the roster.
Chandler Hutchinson.
Oh, geez, man.
You know what's bad? I really don't know anything about Chandler Hutchinson, other than that he's a young small forward player, which is a 5th small forward on the roster. Oh no.
Okay, so let me tell you about Chandler Hutchinson. Chandler Hutchinson was a pretty good shooting guard / small forward from Boise State. He's kind of weirdly been bounced around the league. And some people might be concerned necessarily about his fit, but I think it's just that he's an attractive young 6'6" wing who can shoot and play defense, and is really more of a role player than somebody who's going to turn into, like a star. So it's very easy to trade that contract and that type of player, if that makes sense. So I like what June's saying and how he says he's good. He is good. You can look up some tape on Chandler Hutchinson, even in NBA games. I think he's had some games where he scored a lot. Will he be a part of this roster moving forward? It's hard to see it. I feel like him and Aminu are probably going to get shipped out.
Yeah.
But if for some weird reason Chandler Hutchinson ends up being our backup 3 or something, I know that sounds really weird and it probably doesn't sound that attractive to Spurs fans. But if that happens, to be honest, he might be better than Doug McDermott. I know, not as a shooter, but as a defender. So and he can still shoot pretty well. So I'm not gonna
go that far.
No, I don't think that he's no, I think that he'd be better than Doug McDermott defensively, 100%. Will he play? Absolutely not, because we signed Doug McDermott, and he was just somebody that we helped, make. We literally, the reason that we got Chandler Hutchinson, we didn't even trade anything for him. We got him in a 2nd round pick so that the Wizards-Lakers trade for Westbrook can work. And it's a 5-team deal, and it's super elaborate. And the Spurs didn't even trade anything. They were just the Wizards were like, hey, Spurs, can you please take Chandler Hutchinson in the 2nd round pick? And the Spurs were like, what do we have to give up? And they were like, nothing. And we were like, sure. So.
I'll take him. He's another trade piece.
At worst, he's probably just going to get traded like Aminu. And at worst, we got a free 2nd round pick out of that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Take it every time. But I did forget about Chandler Hutchinson. Oh, geez.
I guess that's all right.
Yeah, no, he's probably going to get traded with Aminu, though. There has to be another move that we make. But,
Dylan, you don't got my man Eubanks on your center spot. You better put some respect on my man's name. I don't think we have KBD anymore. I think we waived his contract, didn't we, to make room?
Yeah. He unfortunately he is not on the roster anymore. No, we pulled his qualifying offer. Another thing that I saw up here, where is it? 15 players plus 2-way contracts. Another idea that is another interesting idea. I doubt that it'll happen, but maybe this year, just because we know Primo's not going to be on the roster, we may just give him a 2-way contract too, just because but the thing is since we drafted him 1st round, I don't even think we can give him a 2-way, can we?
Primo?
Yeah.
You're asking the wrong guy.
I don't know, because I think there's a thing against 1st round picks, even if they play the G League the whole year, their contract can't be a 2-way. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Y'all can correct me in the comments. Yeah, I like what Finico said too. He said if he somehow remains on the roster, any contribution he makes is a bonus. I'm just trying to say Chandler Hutchinson is not a bum. He can play D. He is a promising young 3-and-D role player wing. That's all I was trying to say about Chandler. But will he be on the roster? Most likely not.
My man Jude June is getting a little upset. He wants to know where Luka fits. We kind of talked about it. I think he's going to share minutes with Thaddeus Young at the 4 spot, at least at the start of the season. And then
I think he'll have backup minutes.
Yeah, Jude mentioned that hopefully if his confidence goes up and he starts contributing a little bit more, maybe he takes over midway through the season, moves into that starting spot. I just really, really hope that he gets playing time, because the last thing I want is for our power forwards to be Thaddeus Young, Doug McDermott, Zach Collins, or Eubanks, and then Luke is just relegated to sitting on the bench and, wilting away, and then we'll eventually just let him go because we don't want to give him playing time. But I hope he shares minutes with Thaddeus Young.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the Jock Landale thing, I'm looking more at this roster, and we can kind of talk about lineups or just like what potential position groups could look like, and potentially what we could have by some point. Maybe not this year, but maybe next year if things work out the way that we want them to, and development goes really well for Luka, and then also for like a Jock Landale, we could potentially be looking going into next year with Luka Samanic and Jock Landale as your two fours. I mean, who knows? I mean, I know that's obviously looking way, ahead in the future, but right now we already have basically four centers on the roster, and Jock talked about how he felt like he was more of a four. So why wouldn't you have it be, Thad Young, Luka, and then Jock as the third stringer,
Yeah.
to help space the floor too? Because I know you have like Zach Collins, but like you said, it's probably going to be Jakob and Eubanks as the fours. So he'll probably just be a backup 4 or 5 to start this year. But I'd love to see him play because I think that he has a lot of skills that are versatile in today's NBA. So
I'm sure he'll get to play some games. I don't think he'll get consistent minutes, but we'll see what he's made of by the end of the season for sure with a roster as thick as this. Pause.
Yeah. Finico, I liked what you said. You said something earlier. I forget what it was, but I like that Luka. Yeah, Luka needs to get minutes this year. I think it was actually Dylan who said it. Yeah, Luka needs to start or get at least. Yeah, he needs to get at least 15, 20 minutes a night. And if he does start, give him the full minutes, even if he's ass. Like, like last year. Like if he's bad, if he has a bad start, like just play him through it. Let him play through the mistakes. Don't just pull him, like by halftime, because that doesn't help anything. So, but the Spurs are deep. They are deep because it's like when you can go to a Jock Landale, somebody who's played professionally for multiple years, and played high level, Olympic and college basketball. Like when you can turn to him, as your after an injury, that's something that is super beneficial. But do you want to get into some lineups?
Yeah, for sure. I do want to agree with my man Dylan real quick, though. They finally have decent defense, shooting, and slashers. Yes, despite all the people that are, including us occasionally, hating on what the front office may have done or where they have missed and all that jazz, they addressed their two biggest needs, in my opinion, which was defending against bigger players. We got Thaddeus Young, we got Landale, we got Zach Collins. And then shooting, we got Doug McDermott, Wieskamp, Primo, Bryn, and, we moved Luka up a little bit. As much as Luka has disappointed us, he's a capable shooter for a big guy. So we addressed our needs, and now it's just up to these young guys to take the ball and run with it.
Absolutely. And, getting in the comments again, Will Carter, I think, I think there's definitely some promising. It's more promising for Jock to play because of, playing against Team USA, playing against Pop, playing for that Olympic team with Patty Mills. And Aaron Baines, prayers to Aaron Baines right now too.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all heard about that. But more importantly though, also what Finico says, what's exciting is the Spurs have a lot of options when it comes to the 4-5 combo.
Yes.
And I didn't say that, but that's what I was trying to get out of my mouth for like this whole time talking about all these 4s and 5s is like because of the versatility, whether it's shooting or being able to. We have so many guys who are versatile. Jock can play the 4 or the 5. If Eubanks' shot is looking really good, which from what we've heard behind the scenes, I won't tell you guys that. What we've heard behind the scenes, his jumper is looking a lot better. That could be somebody who could potentially switch from 4 to 5. We know Thad can play the 4 and the 5 as well, even though he's a little smaller. I mean, the list goes. Basically, Jakob is the only guy right now that it looks like that we don't have versatility with, who has to play, the 5 specifically. But for these lineups, Ethan, how do you want to go about this? I was thinking we could go one at a time and then just make starting lineups like each position.
Okay, do you want to do starting lineups or just the starting lineup or like the full rotation of
the
who
full
we think
rotation? Yeah,
okay.
just 10 guys though. Just 10 guys.
Okay, 10 guys. Okay.
Do we want to start off with who we think or who we want? What we would do? I think we should do what we would do.
What we would do? Okay.
Yes.
What we would do.
So who would you start? And we'll get into the other stuff too, because we want to cover both aspects. But this is the SSPN 2021-22 Spurs rotation, 10-man, as of August 7th, 2021.
Yes, what we would do. Okay, my starting lineup. At the point guard, I'm going to run DeJounte Murray.
Okay.
The shooting guard, I'm going to run Lonnie Walker.
Okay.
At the 3, Keldon Johnson. At the 4, Thaddeus Young. And at the 5, Jakob Poeltl. And then my bench rotation will be Derek White as our playmaker, Devin Vassell, Doug McDermott, Luka Samanic, and Drew Eubanks.
So let me get that bench again. So you've got Derek,
Devin, yeah, Doug,
and
Luka,
and Eubanks.
Yes.
Okay. And this would be our opening night roster right now, I assume.
This is just what I would do. This is not what I think the Spurs are going to do.
Yeah, but this is what you would do on opening night. Would you do this even if we had Zach Collins fully healthy?
Yes.
Okay. Respect.
I'm gonna go with that.
Well, here's my thing. It's like, I don't know, this year. We've said this so many times, but we're not going to win the chip anyway. And then more importantly, it's like, I don't even hate the idea of just letting Zach Collins heal the whole year and seeing what we have in Luka and then running Zach next year. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even mind that either. So what do y'all think about that? Let's see what we have in the comments here. Thank you, Greg. We appreciate you. Murray, Lonnie, Keldon, Luka, Poeltl. So June wants Luka to start. I don't hate it. That's what I did in 2K. And if I stick Luka in the G League there, it works out. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out in real life. He's not a 78 right now. That's all I want. All I wanted was him and Trey Jones to be a 78 overall.
The same thing happened to me, dude. You're talking about Trey Jones becoming a 78 and Luka becoming a 78? Did that happen to you?
Yeah,
that happened to me. Yeah, literally the exact same thing.
Literally, you just throw them in the G League and then they're ready to play off the bench the next year. But okay, here, I'll give you my starting lineup. This is gonna be tough. Okay, but if I had to, because I like your lineup, but I don't want to do the same thing just because.
There's definitely room for changes on my lineup. I could see a couple other things you could do.
Yeah, but I need to go back to. Did I delete our whole roster? I think I did. Unfortunately. Okay. Well,
off the top of your head, Jude, pressure's on.
This is so much pressure. Okay, I'm gonna go with DeJounte. If I was gonna do this next year, I'll still go with Derek. I'd probably just go DeJounte, Derek, Keldon, Thad Young, Jakob. And then we just kind of just leaves. Oh, geez. Bryn Forbes is on the roster. Oh God. We need a backup. No. We need a backup point guard. As much as I look at this, there's no way that I can do a roster I want if I don't start Lonnie. Like, I could start Derek and sit DeJounte, but I just know that DeJounte would not work well. So, yeah, my roster is exactly the same because I'd rather play Devin Vassell over Bryn Forbes.
Yeah, me too. I can't fault that. I think that lineup
I didn't want to agree with
close.
you. I didn't want to agree with you, but like, and it wasn't even that I don't like your opinions. I just was like, I wanted to have some variation for the show. But
yeah,
I agree. That's what I would do opening night too. I will say though, if Zach Collins was fully healthy, I would start him over Drew. Sorry, Drew.
Okay.
But
I can't fault that either.
If Drew Eubanks got that strap, Luka's out of there.
100%. 100%.
All right, let's do what we think is going to happen.
Okay. Do you want me to go first?
I'll go first since the last time, and I'm going to give you some variations. I'm going to throw you some BS just to give you I don't know. I mean, this is a possibility. I could see the Spurs doing this. Okay, so at point guard, we're going to have DeJounte. At the starting two guard, we're going to have Bryn Forbes.
Oh. Okay. He's not wrong. He's not wrong, guys. He's not wrong.
I don't think that Like I'm just thinking of the Spurs. Okay, at the 3, we're gonna go Doug McDermott. We're gonna go Keldon at the 4.
Oh yeah.
And then we're gonna have Jakob at the 5, which leads us off the bench with Derek. Wait, no. Actually, with this, no, I don't think. Actually, I'm gonna take Forbes off the starting lineup. I'm gonna put Derek in there, but it's gonna be DeJounte, Derek, Doug McDermott, Keldon, and Jakob. And then off the bench, we're gonna have Lonnie Walker playing the point, I guess.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna have Bryn Forbes as our backup 2. Then at the 3, wait, who do we still have at the 3?
You have Devin and Luca and Wieskamp, and because you started Keldon at the 4, so that puts Devin.
Okay, no. Here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna have Al-Farouq Aminu play the 3. That's what I think's gonna happen.
Okay.
and then we're gonna have Thaddeus Young at the 4.
Oh no.
And then we're gonna have
Oh,
should I wait? No. Take Al-Farouq Aminu out and put in Chandler Hutchinson.
Oh, going deep. He going deep.
Yes, Chandler Hutchinson and Eubanks.
Yeah.
So now, guys, my backup, and this was genuinely, I was trying to pick the best player available. Like I'm trying to pick, I didn't want to pick Devin because I don't think the Spurs are going to play him. So this is just out of what we have, and I think Chandler Hutchinson is better. Y'all might not know about him, but he's way better than Al-Farouq Aminu. Let me tell you that at this point in his career. But yeah, I don't think. But as for the starting lineup with DeJounte, Derek, Doug McDermott, Keldon, Jakob, I don't think that's unrealistic at all. Maybe the backup of Lonnie Walker, Bryn Forbes, Chandler Hutchinson, Thaddeus Young, and Eubanks.
Yeah,
that might be a little off, but only probably by one position.
Okay, that's scary, but it's very likely that what Jude just said is probably going to happen.
Like I'm looking at this right now, and I'm like, wait, Chandler Hutchinson is the best remaining 3 on the roster. Okay, all right, your turn, Ethan.
All right, I'm going to have a little more faith
Dylan says doubtful.
in my front office.
He says stop it. How is Chandler? Tell me, when was the last time that Al-Farouq Aminu got minutes? I'm not saying that when Al-Farouq Aminu was 28. Look, I still think today he can play defense and be a 3 and D4 who can also maybe play the 3. But no, he said Hutchinson is better than Aminu. Stop it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Chandler. Yeah, I think that Chandler Hutchinson.
I was about to pull up my man Aminu's stats for the last 4 seasons. Prove your point for you.
Yeah. No, he is an underrated defender for sure. Like I said, he's a great defender. He's a great wing defender. But I think that Chandler Hutchinson at this point in his career, at the age that Al-Farouq Aminu is at, is a better player. But maybe not. Maybe they play Al-Farouq Aminu over him. I could see that too.
You know what, Jude? I agree with you.
Let me give you your roster. Let me stop.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I'm going to differentiate myself here.
Okay,
for the sake of differentiating myself.
I don't think what I said will happen, but I mean, it might. But
I'm gonna have a little more faith that the front office people are watching our show, because we know they just listen to us. We would be 82-0, right, Jude? Because we know so much about basketball. We're the goats. Okay. Anyway, I'm kidding, of course. If anyone gets mad at me in the comments, DeJounte Murray, Derek White, Keldon Johnson, Thaddeus Young, Jakob Poeltl. I think is a likely starting lineup.
I hope, and if this is the case, I will be, even though there's some questions, especially with Thad's jumper, it has not been the same of late. The front office is listening.
They're always listening, Gregory.
But I still like I just like having the 2 traditional 4 and 5. Because I think that DeJounte, Derek, and Keldon can do enough scoring-wise and even shooting-wise to make up for that.
All right, my bench. I think I think they're gonna play Bryn at the backup point.
That was another thing that I thought might be a little bit more realistic than Lonnie, and they've talked about that just because he knows the offense. And remember, whenever it was either DeJounte or Derek was hurt when Bryn had to run the backup point duty, so he's done it before. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, M-Easy, we're not necessarily agreeing that Bryn should be in the rotation. This is just what we think is gonna unfortunately happen.
We think he's gonna be our backup point guard.
Lonnie Walker at the 2, Doug McBuckets at the 3, Luka Samanic at the 4, but that could very well not be true.
You think that could maybe be Aminu?
I could see that being Aminu or Landale or Eubanks. I could see any of those three getting
because with this whole y'all just look, man, y'all do not sleep on the prospect. Remember a while back when we said, what if Drew Eubanks could shoot the basketball? Just keep that thought in mind. That's all I'll say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna say Luka Samanic is our backup 4 only because I so hope that.
I genuinely think they'll play him. I know he's hurt right now, but I think they have to play him. If they don't play him, then they already don't believe in him. Yeah,
the reason he's not in Summer League, Eric Pacina, is because he actually is still nursing a foot problem that he had this summer. Yes. That is the reason he's not playing. I don't know if he was healthy, if he would play or not. But
it's not severe.
No, it's not.
It's a more like they just want him to be 100% healthy.
Exactly.
So that would make the bench lineup Bryn, Lonnie, Doug, Luka, Eubanks, which, to be honest, shooting-wise, 4 of those guys are decent, are B plus or B shooters and above, other than Eubanks.
Yeah. The real only big issue with that, if that is our lineup, is 4 of those guys are not defenders. And Eubanks to me is a good defender, but Bryn, nope. Lonnie, sometimes.
Lonnie has all the physical tools to be a fantastic perimeter defender.
He does. He just hasn't proven that he is.
It's the mental and the fundamentals that he has to get through.
Doug McBuckets, never been known as a defender. Luka Samanic, never been known as a defender.
Well, yeah, let me say though, look, and I know this is like one Pelicans game, but if y'all go to Spurs film room, we've been on there. Shout out to Rob. I've mentioned him a bunch of times on here. There is some tape of Luka doing some promising things on defense. It's mainly post defense. It's not perimeter defense. He's still like he knows the fundamentals. He knows the Spurs fundamentals. He can get in a defensive stance. Guys are still going to mostly drive past him for the most part right now. But when it comes to his post rotation of like switching on different bigs, he actually has some potential there. It was more like it was something that I wasn't expecting whenever I pulled up that Luka Samanic tape, for him to be a versatile defender when he's guarding Zion and, Steven Adams or whoever. But he did a pretty good job. So I was like, oh, wow, he's actually got some post defense potential, which I didn't think was going to happen. And that's really promising when you consider that we're wanting these bigs that we have to be able to play in the post as well as be able to be shooters. And so Luka's
Lonnie has those tools. Like you said, he has the tools. But my man Big Daddy Eubanks locking down the paint. Ain't nobody going to score on Eubanks. That's just a given. That's just a fact. Y'all know that. Y'all know that like I know that.
That Luka Eubanks pick and roll is going to go crazy.
Oh, bro, I cannot wait.
With Lonnie, Bryn, and Doug on the outside.
Dude, Lonnie, pick and roll with my man Luka. Luka's going to catch it at the elbow, throw it up. Eubanks going to run baseline and throw that shit down, bro. It's going to happen.
Yes. I agree with you, June. He does have to rebound better. Nowhere near D-League rate of activity. Eubanks is garbage. How is Eubanks garbage? Look, Eubanks is undersized, yes. But Eubanks, Eubanks plays hard every time he's out there. He dunks on people. He has big blocks against people. He plays good post defense.
Be careful about that, Eubanks.
Sets good
slander.
Screens.
I'm about to put my man.
If we didn't have him last year.
Yeah, we would have been in trouble.
We would.
I will put you in timeout, sir. I have that capability. Eubanks slander.
But I understand where you're coming from, though. We definitely. I'm not mad at you for wanting an upgrade over Drew Eubanks, though, June. We're not mad at you for that. We just love some Drew Eubanks on the show. Okay. Nice moments, but not consistent. That's to be
nice moments.
Okay. But if we
Dude,
want
I'm upset. I'm heated, Jude.
you're heated. Yeah.
Hold me back, Jude.
June, I will say though, there's some truth. We can take ourselves out of our Eubanks, bubble, and we can understand that yes, he does need to be a little bit more consistent. There were some times that he was taken advantage of out there on the floor. Ethan's like the mad little second grader.
Yeah, I'm not talking the rest of the show. Okay. No, I get what you're saying, but oh, gosh.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. When Eubanks comes out and is, he's just got this new skill that allows him to play other positions, it's going to be over. So
I'm about to pin my man's message right there.
We'll see. All right, well, do you want to run with, I feel like those are pretty much, honestly, like, I don't really see any other lineup variations other than, because, what we did was kind of the other variation where you put Derek at the backup point, unless, like, we could throw some lineups where, like, we're going to run Josh Primo, Trey Jones, Devin Vassell, Wieskamp, and Landale off the bench. But that's not going to happen. There's just no way.
I won't put it past the Spurs if they went and they did like an 11-man rotation.
I wouldn't hate that, is the thing. I do that in 2K.
Yeah, like I could totally see them
season
doing that. I could see them doing that, and I wouldn't be surprised if I hope what I'm saying is that what was he saying? Eubanks will get destroyed in practice by the Aussie big. We just signed. How much money you want to put on it? Oh, easy. I'll bet my life savings that Eubanks gonna put that man in the spin cycle.
I actually don't agree with that. Eubanks is much more of a physical and a much more denser player than Jock. If you watch Jock, like, that's why Jock said he feels like more of a 4. And he said it himself, right? The Summer League death lineup. Yes, Greg. Okay. Zinder picks. Who's y'all's starting 5 here? We did it a little while ago, but I'll give it for you since you just popped in. So we had our starting 5. Well, actually, never mind. I deleted them. But we had Lonnie. We had Lonnie at the 2, and we moved Derek off to the bench for him to kind of have that 6-man role and to keep our bench a little bit more even, and to actually have a real point guard on the bench too. So that's what we rolled with. But
Jude, it was a joke, but it's starting to become real.
What?
My man Eubanks is not low output. Oh. Oh. Man, June's getting under my skin. Oh. Dude, I hope my man's a double machine. Double machine. Oh.
Our summer league roster does need a lot of work.
Yeah.
But that's why they're gonna play. They're gonna play through it. No, and that on another. I guess this will be kind of my final thoughts on all the things that we had planned for the show. But just talking about our summer league roster, with all of the stuff that we talked about playing Devin Vassell and how we've wanted to play him for a long time, when I see him make some mistakes in summer league, it kind of does remind me, okay, he's still 20 years old, and like he does still have some things that like if you're an NBA player, like we saw it with Keldon would just dominate every game in the G League or the summer league, and that's just, that hasn't, with all of that being said, Devin Vassell did have 27 last night. So it's not like he's still putting up almost 30, but at the same time, like when you see some of his mistakes that he's still making out there against basically G Leaguers, it does make you kind of, come back down to earth a little bit and understand where the Spurs are coming from a little bit more. But it's not saying I agree with it, but I just understand when I see these little mistakes by these young guys against the people they're playing against, and that's no offense to the guys they're playing against. They're still playing some of the highest level basketball in the world. But at the same time, you see their side a little bit more. But
sorry, I'm typing right now. I'm listening to you. I'm just
No, you're good. You're good. That was all I had really to say there. And yes, post your starting lineups in the comment. Thank you so much, Greg. And yes, drop a like as well. If you like this, if you're a Spurs fan, you can subscribe to our channel. It's called SSPN. Also, if you join this just now and you're missing it, this will be uploaded on YouTube as well. It may take a little bit. Sometimes it does. But also, we have a podcast feed that you can go check out. And usually the audio's up within 10, 15 minutes of the episode ending. So if for some reason you can't find it on YouTube, just look up SSPN on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get them. So
Perfect. Jude, I'm about to go swipe up on every single one of Drew Eubanks's posts and just comment "goat" emoji. That's what I'm going to do.
I think that this is the way.
I think it's the way. Blame Pop. He jerked around Vassell last year with his playing time. Pause.
Hey, yes, but hey, look, Pop's a gold medalist now. Keldon's a gold medalist now. That's what matters. Yeah, a lot of y'all are funny. Y'all are funny in the comments, man.
You go, yes sir.
Yes, and
yes,
summer
sir.
league players not good at all. Will Jock be there? Jock is not going to be in the summer league because he just got done playing the Olympic League. So I think he got his summer league in. I think he got his Team USA minutes in. You know what I mean? So yeah, lots of development for these guys. And once again, guys, we have a brand new team. We made the big moves. Like, for all of the questions that we just talked about and maybe potential concerns, this is a new day for the Spurs. We have turned the page, and now let's see if DeJounte Murray and Derek White can carry this ragtag group of goons to the playoffs. Keldon Johnson too. I think that's our big three right now. Okay, last final question is our big three on the Spurs right now. Obviously not a championship big three, but just the big three, if you will. Is it Keldon, DeJounte, Derek? Do you think that's what it is, or do you think it's somebody else?
Yeah. As far as what the front office is thinking for the future, those are the big three.
Okay.
Yeah, in my opinion.
I think they're the big three on the team this year too. Like, I just think that those are the three most talented players. Like, those are the players that, like, whenever other teams come and play us, those are going to be the guys that they're worried about on the scouting report. So, but yeah, if Lonnie could take that next step, it'd be great. And that's I guess that's my final statement on today's stream. We went about an hour and a half, the longest one we've done so far. So thank you guys for hanging out. About 50 viewers in here. We appreciate you guys. You can go ahead and follow myself and or Ethan on Twitter. That's where we post basically anytime there's any sort of news about the show, or the show has been uploaded or anything like that. You can go ahead and find it there. We tweet about it all. I was updating the graphic there because it just had my name on it, but now it has yours. So go ahead and follow us on Twitter. There it is right there. And hey, June, thank you for interacting and being in here. And yes, Derek White is 27, but we haven't seen prime Derek White yet. He's been hurt, and he's going to come back afro.
Maybe he should shave off the afro. Maybe that's throwing off his balance.
No, the afro is what makes Derek afro. That didn't make sense. But the afro is what makes Derek Derek. That's what I was trying to say. But anyways, y'all, we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for stopping in. Go Spurs, go.